where do you stand on this concept of leaders being born just naturally, just they have natural tendencies toward leadership versus leaders that can be developed or made? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, if you would have asked me about 5 years ago, I probably would have tell you that I was a follower and more of an observer, and I was never going to be a leader because I thought my goal was to be able to lead young people and, point them on the right path or help be a facilitator for them. And so I thought that people were born one way or the other. And I think now, after my experience, I think that we are all born with maybe more tendencies or skills on a spectrum from leader to follower, and we all start somewhere on the spectrum, and some of us want to chip away and move to the other side, and some of us are fine being where we are for maybe all of our career or part of it, or whenever we have that aha moment, that's when we decide to start making our way to the other side. But I think it's all about, you can make it what you want it, and if you're willing to work at leadership, you can definitely make strides, because I've completely changed my view on this. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
they're definitely cultivated, they're made.
Great parks and healthy landscapes are the products of strong leadership. This show is dedicated to helping you become that leader. This is the Parks and Restoration Podcast. We're on a mission to help you leave a legacy of healthy ecosystems, quality parks, and future generations of people who care about the natural world. Find show notes, links, and other information on our website, parksandrestoration.com. And now, let's get to today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Parks and Restoration Podcast. I am Chris Lee, your host, and I am joined today by a friend, a colleague, and someone I'm excited to talk to today. She spent 10 years as a junior high English teacher before making a bold career pivot. At 32, Teli Van Rycke walked away from a near-complete administrative endorsement and a career in education leadership to become a talent development program manager. I'm not even sure what that is. And frankly, she didn't know exactly what that was by her own admission when she said yes to taking that job. But that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. That leap has turned into a 3-year run at the Greater Burlington Partnership, which is the organization that houses our local Chamber of Commerce, our Downtown Main Street program, our economic development, and our Convention and Visitors Bureau, all under the same umbrella of the partnership. She's been there and been promoted to Regional Director of Workforce Innovation, serving 2 and potentially soon to be 3 counties here in Southeast Iowa. She's currently 3 years into the U.S. Chamber's Elite 4-Year Institute for Organization Management, otherwise known as IOM program, and she's neck deep in workforce and leadership development for our region. She recently facilitated this Leader Lab program, which I attended, and it's called the Better Culture Mindset Leadership Program. And for more information on that, go back and listen to my episode with Brett Hugavine, the founder of that program. It was a fantastic program. Teli did an incredible job of facilitating that. And in addition to all of that, full disclosure here, she's also been doing some behind the scenes work for me and this show as the new Director of Operations for Parks and Restoration LLC. Teli, welcome to the show and welcome to Parks and Restoration conglomerate, I guess that this is, right?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I'm honored to be here, and I really just appreciate this opportunity. And I'm excited to work with you. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So there's several things. Uh, you are incredible at preparing and handling logistics. And I suppose this probably goes back to all those years you spent as a teacher doing lesson planning and stuff. But in prep for this episode, you sent me this big long document that had a bunch of your background and stuff, which I super appreciate. That's why I like having you on the team, because you're doing some of that for future podcast guesting and stuff. But there was a lot of stuff in there that I want to dig into. First one is culture. All right. Organizational culture. Anybody that's ever listened to this show knows that I'm big on organizational culture. I do all my speeches and stuff around culture. And you have said that you wouldn't leave the Greater Burlington Partnership for like a $10,000 or $20,000 raise. What is it about the partnership that makes you so committed to it?
That is a hard thing to pinpoint, but I think I can narrow it down to 2 things. The first one is the team here and the culture that we have. It's not perfect, but it's fantastic. We have great people here, and they work really hard, and they don't do it for a paycheck, even though we get paid well. I'm not saying we don't, but they work really hard for the community and for the same goal. And so that makes it fun to work on this team. And then the second one is the people. All the people like you, partners, stakeholders, and people who serve on our boards and help guide us, and really our chamber members. It's all about them. I tell Mac and my coworkers here sometimes, like, ooh, I'm excited about today because I get to go hang out with all my friends today, whether it's a business after hours event, a roundtable discussion, a legislative event, whatever it is. My favorite part of the day is when I get to hang out with my friends.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is it's everybody's dedicated to the mission, and
Hmm.
it's it's tied back to community. And I mean, frankly, the GBP does incredible stuff within the community, and then it's the people that you're surrounded with. But it's because they're mission driven,
Yeah.
and and they're all high performing, dedicated type folks. And it's not the paycheck. It's not the nice offices that you have overlooking the Mississippi River, which, I mean, let's face
Although
it, your
that is a
views,
plus for sure.
right? Those views from those offices are pretty incredible, but you didn't mention that. And there's all these other things that organizations often focus on as like, oh, we need to give these perks to our employees.
Hmm.
No, what they need to do is like in that mindset leadership program, high performing employees have the right to work with other high performing employees, and it sounds like that's kind of the dynamic that you guys have there, and that's what's really drawn you to it and made you so dedicated to it, is the fact that you've got high performing people around you and you're all working towards some bigger thing, right?
Absolutely. And it's also like you're telling me that I get to go to a lunch and learn and get paid to do that. I get to go to a networking event. And to me, it feels like fun and it doesn't feel like work. I would say at least 50 to 80% of the time. So the work part is, answering emails, which don't worry, I'm happy to do that too. But
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Or sitting in on podcasts, maybe that's one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to know the leaders of the organization. So you're hired by the previous CEO there
Hmm.
at Greater Burlington Partnership, Della Schmidt, and then now there's a different one there. Della took a job up in Minnesota, back where she was from, and so she left. Gosh, what's that been? A year or so ago?
Yeah, at least a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay. Man, time flies. And so now Amy O'Brien is the CEO there. I want to know what have those two done to cultivate the incredible culture that exists there at Greater Burlington Partnership. I mean, or have they done anything? Has it just happened? Did they just happen to stumble into something that's got some magic going with it, or what have they done intentionally that has helped maintain that?
I think if I had to put my finger on it, I think the biggest thing that they've done is kind of come in and rethought about how things were done in the past, whether that's with positions and recreating and the structure of the Greater Burlington Partnership and the leadership and the roles here. And sometimes, when someone's hired for a position, realizing that their strengths are this and maybe this program or this event or this thing is not really a good fit for them. And so I think that Della did a great job of laying the foundation to let's rethink some things, let's rethink positions, let's rethink programs. What's the purpose? Is it still relevant? And really kind of do an audit on those things. And then she laid a really good foundation for Amy to come in, and Amy's hit the ground running with. We've done a lot of new programming, we've done a lot of new ideas, and it's just been really great. Our team is different. We've exchanged some roles. I used to facilitate Greater Burlington leadership, and now Melissa Jones, our executive director of the chamber, is doing that. So I could start Leader Lab, and so it's just been really nice that. I hate the saying, oh, because we've always done it, and I don't like that at all. And so both of those leaders have really embraced that, and they're like, we don't have to do it this way. What can we do different? What do you want to do? And really given us some autonomy to be creative and come up with new ideas and new things. So.
Mm.
I think that's what
Yeah.
they.
So it's fitting the work to the people
Yeah,
rather than the other way around.
correct.
That I and so it's people centric
Hmm.
versus mission or work centric, and maybe we'll dig into this a little bit. In fact, hell, let's just dig right into it. I've been struggling, maybe isn't the right word, but this idea of so many organizations that listen to this show, they're conservation organizations, they're nonprofit, they're support foundations, they're municipal departments, things like that. They're mission driven, right? They're not profit driven.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the folks that listen to the show that work in conservation, that work in parks, they're not out to make a profit. They're not out to hit next quarter's shareholder return numbers, right?
Right.
And so it's really easy to get lost in this mission first mentality, like the it's mission over everything, and everything we do centers around that. And that's great, and that's noble, and that's really kind of been my philosophy for most of my life. But now that I've been in this role as a leader for long enough, I'm really beginning to question, like the mission can't go away, and you can't forsake the mission. The mission is still there, but the approach to delivering on it can be different,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be in such a way that humans aren't the resources that you extract, the value that you extract to deliver on the mission. It's humans are the resources that you cultivate to then deliver on the mission, and that's it's a little bit of a different mindset, and it sounds like that's really kind of what has transpired there, and what I have seen in a lot of the other organizations that I've talked to, that I've worked with, that have really great cultures, that have people that are absolutely dedicated, that will not leave. They turn the focus first on the people because they recognize that the mission doesn't get delivered without the people.
Right.
And so maybe it's not mission first, maybe it's people first in service of the mission.
Bingo.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely people first. I've never, before being in this role, because I didn't have the capacity or the time to, I was, on from 7:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, teaching the same thing over and over to, adolescents, and, stopping, inappropriate behavior and stopping disruptions and making sure the learning was happening. And I was cultivating that. And so now I've realized that really everything starts with relationships. You have to, in education, I had to build relationships with kids, and eighth graders are not easy to necessarily build relationships with, especially to begin. You have to earn their respect. And a lot of adults think that, kids should give respect first and then, they'll give it, but it really goes the other way around. If you want to survive in the field of teaching or in anything else, you've got to give that respect. And I think that's also how you earn it. And that's the same way in any other industry, in my opinion. You've really got to work on that relationships part before you do anything else. Because if people respect you and they like you and they, think that you, are trustworthy, then they're going to believe in what you believe in. They might join your mission. They're going to join your efforts, even if you don't work for the same organization or company. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah. Or on the flip side, they may recruit you to be part of their mission, which,
Absolutely.
as I understand, that's what Della did, pulling you out of the world of education into the world of nonprofit and economic development,
Yeah.
workforce development. To walk me through that, like how did that go? Like, I mean, that's a huge leap. You were a decade into moving up in administration. Like, you're on your way to moving into the administration office, and
Yeah.
then you jump ship because some crazy CEO from the Greater Burlington Partnership was like, hey, you should come over here and work here. Like, what?
I was
How does
crazy
that
at the
happen?
time, and it's quite a crazy story looking back on it now. I've already had a master's degree. I was really excited about, hopefully becoming a curriculum director at some point, and I knew that you have to start, especially in Iowa, as like an assistant principal and get some of that under your belt. And I was about 3 classes away, and Della had been coming into my classroom for the last 2 years, and she did this thing called CEO in the classroom, which I get to do now. We call it community leaders in the classroom because not everyone's a CEO. Maybe they're an executive director or, a bank president or something else, or VP. And I just really enjoyed watching her, like, relate to the kids. She was so good at it, and she doesn't have any education background. And so I'm like, oh, look at this business CEO lady coming in. She's so cool. Like, wow, they relate to her, and, she's got it figured out. And so, I enjoyed having her, and she sent me an email and she's like, have you, ever considered being a talent development program manager? And I was like, I'm not sure what that is, but I'm, happy to listen to it, hear about it, and maybe explore some opportunities, because at that point I just wasn't sure what my next goal was. I knew I wanted to move up. I knew I love teaching in education. I love teaching reading, but I wanted a flexible schedule. I wanted, to build my own schedule. I wanted to be in charge of things, and I wanted to work with multiple people and just be a part of something a little bit bigger at that time. And so I just didn't know what it was yet. So funny thing was then, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks later, before I interviewed, I was getting ready. It was the evening before my interview, and the school day was over, and I was getting ready to leave. Actually, before I was getting ready to leave, Dustin Roth, who's my coworker now here at the partnership, he's our marketing communications director, and Melissa Jones, who is the interim in my position at the time, she is now our chamber executive director, were at our school, and they were teaching some of our teachers how to use our VR, virtual reality career exploration headsets. They were brand new and they were piloting them. And so I'm like, ooh, yeah, let me try them out. So I took them, and I was like, I didn't tell them. I was like, oh my gosh, I have an interview with their boss tomorrow morning. And I put two and two together at like the last minute. And I ended up taking this job, which Melissa had come to train me on in my teaching role. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
then I ended up being the one facilitating that program, including the CEO in the classroom and the virtual reality career exploration headsets when I got hired.
Oh, cool. Funny
So,
how life kind of goes full circle sometimes, right?
absolutely. That's what I was saying. So I
Yeah.
think it was meant to be.
Right. Well, yeah. And so I think that's a an interesting point in that, Della could have did the whole, job listing and taking applications and stuff, but she saw something in you that was like, okay, this person could be a really great fit for this position and accomplishing our mission of workforce development. And I know at the time she was very much focused on kind of regionalizing it, and it was really focused on reaching deeply down, like way down into the talent pipeline. And so, I mean, I guess thinking about it that way, it does kind of make sense to think about, okay, what could we get a teacher to do this? Because they got connections into the world of education. But she could have just put the job application out there, but no, she recruited. She saw an opportunity to maybe get somebody in and said, hey, why don't you come consider this? And as I understand it, it was not just like a, hey, come look at this, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll take the job. Like it was a couple different times you stopped in to learn about it and talk to her, and she really kind of gave you the space to really kind of think about it and make sure it was the right move for you. Walk me through kind of how that went and her approach to that, and why that worked so well to peel you out of education and get you into the role that she was gunning to get you into.
She really did give me the space and the opportunity, because told her I was hesitant. I was honestly scared of what my parents were going to say. Like, yeah, I was a grown adult, but, I had spent all of this time and money and education, almost 2 masters later. And I mean, I paid for all of it, and I'm almost done finally paying on all of that. Thank goodness. But
Congratulations.
I was still scared for them to be like, we told you. They both worked in manufacturing when I grew up, and they've said, you have to go to college to be successful. You do not want to live a life like us. We want better for you. And so all they knew was that I needed to go to college, because they didn't. And so I think that was them. But anyway, so I told Della, I'm like, you know what, this sounds great. And I don't know anything about business. I've only known teaching my whole life. I told my class when I was in 8th grade president for student council, I was going to be a teacher when I grew up, and I already knew about it. And so this is really hard for me to make this decision. She's like, well, why don't you just think about it for a little bit? The school year doesn't end for 6 more weeks. And why don't you come in and you can look at the office and spend a little bit of time here, and I'll set you up with a couple of the staff to spend some time with without me around. And you can ask all the questions you want. You can check out, why don't you just come here and hang out and see what it's like here? And I was like, okay, what could that hurt, right? That's not a big deal. So I did. And I took like a half a day off of work and went and did that. And I got to ask all the questions. I'm like, why do you like to work here? And I felt really comfortable, and everyone talked highly of their job. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I went home and I talked to my boyfriend at the time, and he's like, if this is what you want to do, I think you should go for it. And so I just closed my eyes and jumped right on in. Yes, it was great.
So
Best decision ever.
well, I mean, that's That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, some people will listen to this, be like, oh, well, that's fantastic, but I don't have 6 weeks to, vet a single person in the hopes that maybe they'll jump ship and come over here. But maybe you do.
Well, that was the thing. Della found the right person and she was willing to wait till school got out. I was under contract until May 27th and my first day was June 1st. So I had the weekend off and I was ready for work on that next Monday. So
yeah, so much for that summer break, right?
Yeah, I know. I got double paychecks though, so that was pretty good.
Oh, well, that works all right.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing there is what she did, and intentionally or not, was she gave you the opportunity to get a sense of belonging. She's like, here, come on, hang out at the office, talk to the staff. I won't even be around, no pressure. Just, get a sense for whether or not you feel like you could belong here.
And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing this research and hearing all of these, great minds in the leadership space talk about how important that is. Of how do you create the conditions for people to feel like this is where they're supposed to be, like this is my habitat, this is my ecosystem, I belong in this place. And that was one of the ways that she did it. And so I think there's a fantastic lesson there for organization leaders. Is I'm fascinated, maybe not fascinated, I am constantly reconsidering the hiring process, because I think the traditional hiring process is broken big time. And so I'm constantly questioning how can we do this better, and I'm seeing some inklings of some light here, in that, man, what if it wasn't just the traditional post a job and see what kind of applicants you get? What if it was really just connecting to the community and getting to know some of the other people around you, and then be like, hey, you could come over here,
Yeah.
and then obviously
really
she had to sell you on the mission.
Yeah, of course.
But
that was easy.
Well, sure. Yeah. Right. And so, and there again, it becomes people first in service of the mission. And so then by getting the right people, you go back to Jim Collins and the book Good to Great and everything, he talks about getting the right people on the bus in the right seats. And so, that's exactly what she was doing, was she's getting the right person on the bus, and then getting it in the right seat, like, talent development, and then, moving up into workforce regional development director that you are now. And it was actually building the seats to fit the person, and then that's delivering on the mission. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. I want to shift gears here a little bit.
All right.
So, one of the things that has come up is this, I feel it's a myth of the born leader. All right. I want to pick your brain about this, because I know you're a leadership junkie like I am. Where do you stand on this concept of leaders being born just naturally, just they have natural tendencies toward leadership, versus leaders that can be developed or made? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, if you would have asked me about 5 years ago, I probably would have tell you that I was a follower and more of an observer, and I was never going to be a leader, because I thought my goal was to be able to lead young people and, point them on the right path, or help be a facilitator for them. And so I thought that people were born one way or the other. And I think now, after my experience, I think that we are all born with maybe more tendencies or skills on a spectrum from leader to follower, and we all start somewhere on the spectrum, and some of us want to chip away and move to the other side, and some of us are fine being where we are for maybe all of our career or part of it, or whenever we have that aha moment, that's when we decide to start making our way to the other side. But I think it's all about, you can make it what you want it, and if you're willing to work at leadership, you can definitely make strides, because I've completely changed my view on this. So yeah, I think they're definitely cultivated, they're made.
Ready to take your leadership to the next level? Join the Next Level Leadership community at parksandrestoration.com. You'll get practical leadership insights and exclusive invitations to live meetups and trainings. Be part of the movement we're creating. Join the Next Level Leadership community at parksandrestoration.com. So what changed for you to have that mindset mind shift. Jeez. We'll cut that one out. Have the mind shift of going from, this is, I just do this, I'm a follower. I'm not like an organization leader, to, yeah, I am interested in this leadership thing. I want to develop my leadership abilities. Was there a particular moment that did that, or was it kind of a slow burn?
I think it's because I was always, I don't want to say an expert in my field, but, very knowledgeable about education. And I continued, staying on top of the latest things, and I wanted to be a great teacher. And then I come into this new field where I'm not the expert and I'm like the novice, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit back and kind of fake it till I make it and go through as much professional development and learn from others and tie myself to people who do have it figured out and who I respect and are knowledgeable. And I'm going to learn as much as I can. And so I think it was somewhere along that process where I used to feel like an imposter and fake it until I make it. And then somewhere along the way, with the thirst for knowledge and learning and to become that expert in this field, which I'm not an expert, I'm not saying that by any means, but making my way over to the leadership side and getting more knowledgeable, I feel much more confident, and it just kind of happened organically. I think I'm intrinsically motivated always to be a learner and to develop, and that's just part of who I am. My parents were very hard workers and, always provided. My mom was a single mom and she made $10 an hour, and I never went without anything. And my dad never missed a day of work, and he's, getting in his late 60s, and he wants to work until his 70s because he just loves working. And he likes his job at Alcoa. But I think that that's just ingrained in me. So it just kind of happened by accident, I guess.
Mm. So what I'm hearing there is you did a great job of taking what your particular innate ability or your innate wiring, and then applying that to success. So, a strong work ethic is, it sounds like you've had that for the longest time, and we're going to talk more about that here in a minute. And then the thirst for knowledge, like wanting to constantly learn and get better and be an expert in your field. It sounds like you've probably had that from the get go, even probably before you were a teacher. You wanted to at least from a knowledge standpoint, be an expert in the field. And so then by applying those and cultivating those, as you develop the knowledge and as you develop the confidence, then that gives you then the confidence and the desire then to step up into a leadership role.
Exactly.
And I think there's really great lessons there of, I've debated this idea of like, are people just born leaders? And I think back to school, and, there's those people in class that, they were always the class president. They were always the student council president or whatever. And like they were the leaders. Like they were always in front of the class. Like everybody knew their name. And, was that you?
I was a little more quiet. I wasn't like the obnoxious, like everyone knows that I would be the leader. No, I was more of like the one sitting back and turning in and getting, I was the teacher's pet, but the quieter one, where every once in a while I might, raise my hand and give an answer if nobody else would, for sure.
Mhm.
But I definitely wasn't the first one or, in the front of the line being the leader. I was kind of more, I was observant. And I feel like that's been part of my life. I'm going to watch everyone else and learn from other people until I feel confident. And then I'm going to step up and get to the front of the line and lead the group. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I think people confuse leadership with extroversion.
I agree.
And
I always wanted to be an extrovert. I thought that was a desirable quality and it was a leadership quality. And I'm like, how can I be more like that?
Yeah, right. And I think that's what we see is that there's these leaders, there's the class president. Well, it's not that they are necessarily born leaders. It's just they have more extroverted tendencies. They don't mind being in front of the group. They don't mind having their name on the student council ballot. They don't mind being in front of everyone. In fact, they derive energy from that, and and being out there and glad handing and doing the campaigning. That's not necessarily leadership. They're just wired for extroversion. They get energy from doing that, versus the introverts are like, oh dear God, like don't make me stand in front of the class. Like I don't want to do a campaign speech. Like,
and I was in the middle.
Yeah. So somewhere.
What about you? Where were you at in the class?
Oh God, I was on the introverted end of the spectrum.
Oh, really?
You couldn't pay me, and I know, and that this is the funny thing. Is in fact one of my old classmates. I just bumped into her at the coffee shop. She Molly that works down there at the bean counter coffee shop I go to quite a bit. She was in my class, and we had classes together my whole life growing up. And she was commenting on this whole River Days thing that I do, where I wear the white suit or the white suit jacket and the hat, and I'm all over these social media videos. And she's like, you know, back in school, could you have ever imagined doing something like this? And I said, you couldn't have paid me to do something like this. Like it was pulling teeth to get me to give a speech in front of the class. No, I absolutely not. And yet now here I am. I do keynote speeches for crying. I literally just did a keynote speech for a company last week. And,
Yeah, it's incredible.
so yeah, so I guess it's not like I'm clearly not a born leader, but I am in a leadership role now, and I think I'm being fairly successful at it. And so I think this concept of born leader it's a confusion of personality traits. It's not necessarily that they're a leader.
Yep.
Leadership ability can be cultivated. It can be learned.
And Adam Grant, in his book Think Again, which I just read for our leadership book class, he talks about the armchair quarterback, which is, maybe the quarterback, sorry for any stereotypes, but the quarterback who doesn't understand the plays and he's just athletic and he's just popular. And then you have the imposter who actually does know things, but they have this imposter syndrome. And so these are two ends of the spectrum. And he's like, you want to be in the middle. You don't want to be either one of these, because the imposter syndrome can hinder your ability to do the things that you can do. And then the imposter syndrome can, hurt the team or whatever else because you don't know what you're doing. And so I think he really explains that really well in that section of his book. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. You bring up a good point. So imposter syndrome. I know, certainly I've struggled with that. I know you have, and almost everybody I've ever talked to has. I mean, it's almost just, it's like, it's standard. Where do you fall on either the value of it or, getting through it?
Well, I felt like an imposter all day getting ready to come to this podcast because I didn't know that anyone would want to hear about my experience or what I've gone through. Because to me, it's not, anything crazy. But I like that I'm more aware of it now. Before, I just thought of it back in my head, seeing like I'm a fraud. I'm faking it until I make it. I'm trying to figure things out. And these people have it all together. They know what they're doing. They're confident. They have it figured out. They don't even flinch when it comes to a decision. And I'm over here like, oh my goodness, I gotta I have my list of pros and cons and I'm trying to, make sure I don't make the wrong decision. And so, no, I feel really good about it. And I think it's something that we need to talk about. People don't have it together. You go ask probably any CEO and they aren't always confident in their decisions. But I do think that if you, consult in your team sometimes when there are experts in areas. So for example, like Crystal, she's our finance director. And, sometimes if I'm making a decision about a program or whatever, I'm going to say, here's what I have for my numbers. What do you have? Let's compare. And do you think this is should we continue this program? Is it making money? Like I'm going to consult in people who are more of experts than me to make the decision. It doesn't mean that I have to know everything. So I just know where to seek out the right information to make the best informed decision.
Yeah. So
I think
seeing it for what it is, it's not necessarily a fact that you're unworthy of being in the position or that you don't know what you're doing. Right? The fact really is though that most people don't know what they're doing. They're making shit up as they go.
Yeah.
And
it's like parenting, right? That's what I hear anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you'll find that out at some point, I'm sure. But no, but it's that way with everything. Like nothing is written in stone, and everything you do is going to, even if it's the same thing that somebody else has done, it's different because it's you, right? And and so yeah, there's always going to be that little bit of doubt, and I think, like what we talked earlier is it's a matter of cultivating that confidence. Like, how can you either get more knowledge to help you be a little bit more confident in your decisions, and then sometimes it's just a matter of faith of like, I'm just gonna have to trust that I got to make this decision, and then know that whatever the outcome is, I can deal with it, right? And that probably just comes from time and experience. But you said about surrounding yourself with people and kind of bouncing ideas off those, and you had mentioned that you like being around people that can elevate you. So talk to me about that a little bit and how you've cultivated that dynamic.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just, a lot of people say they like to be around like-minded people, and I don't necessarily like to be around like-minded people. I would rather pair myself with people who I see as a mentor to me or as someone where I want to be. And so, I'm almost everyone I've met is willing to like help other people and teach them what they know. And so, yeah, I think sometimes it's a little selfish. I do it for myself, but I'm always willing to give back. Like I'm willing to do things for them as well. It's a two-way street. But I feel like I learned best. I used to learn best from other teachers who'd been teaching a long time. And, especially when it came to classroom management and being a young teacher at the time and a woman with eighth grade boys were tough sometimes, let me tell you. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
I have
God.
some great memories and some great students, many, many great students, almost like, over 1,000. But, I think that's where it all comes from is that right there. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's a couple things you said in here that I really want to dig into, and I know you knew these were coming. So you said that you like surround yourself with mentors, and but then you kind of backpedal and was like, I kind of feel like that's selfish, or that it's a self-serving thing. And you're not the only one I've heard say stuff like this. And we're gonna dig into why I think this is, psychoanalyze this a little bit, but I would push back on that a little bit. So like if you were serving as a mentor to someone else, do you feel that you're doing that them getting mentored by you is selfish on their part?
No, I don't think that at all. I'm definitely
Right.
willing to do that. That's part of like who I am. I'm a servant leader. I know that about myself. And don't get me wrong, I'm working on trying to be different kinds of leaders, styles, I guess, leadership styles in different situations, but that's just the core of like who I am. So no, I would never think that, but I actually physically go out and seek that to help me improve. Like a lot of people, like I would be like, oh, I want to mentor you, or how would you like, I'm more of the person to initiate those kinds of things, and I will do that to help myself. See, just saying it sounds really bad, I think, but I'm not scared to go out and ask for people to mentor me. I want that. I crave it. I need it. And I feel like that's the fastest way I'm going to move up. I can read a million books, and don't get me wrong, books are great. And I've taken away some great things, even in the past like 3 months in this new leadership book club that I'm in. But it's so different when you learn it from someone in the field that's lived it, done it, made mistakes already, and you can just pick up kind of where they left off with that. It's pretty incredible. It's like fast tracking, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be more demand and more value in the in-person, whether it's mentorship or just community. The more as like, AI systems become ubiquitous and, more people are just turning to their phones to brainstorm and to share their inner feelings. I think there's going to be an increasing demand and increasing value to that actual human connection. And you're absolutely right. There, you can't, it's immeasurable, the difference between, studying and reading and learning in that sense versus actually just spending time with people that are out there killing it and figuring it out as they go and learning from them that, are maybe in a place you want to be later on. The interesting thing here, you talk about just like, just saying that kind of sounds selfish. I go out and I seek mentors. I mean, you read any, like the leadership guidance out there is to surround yourself with mentors. I mean, like Tim Ferriss wrote an entire book, 2 books, Tribe of Mentors. They're behind me somewhere. And it's just all about like surrounding himself. And that's why he by his own admission, that's why he started his podcast, which has got, I don't know, several hundred episodes now. And he talks to some of the highest performers in the world and just tries to glean stuff from them. That's, it's really no different. They say you're the average of the 5 people you're closest to. So, make sure that those 5 people are lifting you up. And so I think if it was the type of deal where you were just like trying to hook your train car to their engine and ride their coattails into success, that would be selfish. But if you're just trying to learn from them, I mean, people love sharing their knowledge. People love teaching the next generation and helping others succeed. I mean, you're doing them a favor too. I think what is happening here is this gets back to working genius. And I wanted to talk about this because I've talked about working genius on this podcast before. So I had you do the working genius assessment when we were considering working together, and your working genius is opposite mine. So you have enablement and galvanizing as your working geniuses. So,
and I was offended when I first read that, because I am not an enabler. I think of like, someone who is maybe an alcoholic or a drug addict, and you're an enabler.
Sure, yeah.
So I really had to like, beat myself through that a little bit and work through that first thought. But.
And yeah, you got to kind of understand the nuance and the description of that. What that really means is you get energy from helping others succeed, right? I mean, this is why you were drawn to teaching, right? Like helping 8th graders succeed in class. Like, I mean, I've heard you tell stories of some of the experiences you've had in class, and I can just like literally see the energy from you. And then in some of the talks that we've had of like, how are we going to grow the podcast and stuff like that? Like you get a lot of energy from helping others succeed. And so it's other focused, right? And I think because that's part of your wiring, that idea of others helping you succeed, it triggers like this selfish concept that you got, like, well, I exist to help others succeed, but for that to come back to me, like, that's kind of opposite of my thing, right? And so it's part of that wiring. And this is why I want to have this conversation is I have found so much value in this working genius thing. And I think if more leaders would, and it doesn't have to be working genius, but if more leaders would focus on understanding the people around them and like how are they wired, and how does that show up in the way that they are, or in the way that they think, or in the way that they do their work, it almost becomes like a superpower to understand how then to connect them to the work that they are most excited about. And I think that's what's happened with you getting with the Greater Burlington Partnership, is that like your entire role is to help others succeed. And it's a workforce development, right? So you're helping companies find workers, and you're developing the next generation of workforce, right? Like, that's all right up your wiring, is, because you've got this enablement. And then galvanizing is like, come on, let's go do this, let's succeed, let's kick some ass. And yeah, it's which is, it's totally different from mine. My working frustrations are enablement and galvanizing, and so. So having you on my team is hopefully going to help me out with that quite a bit.
It's going to help you grow too.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you're going to be a mentor for me, and that's very selfish on my part, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
That's perfect. Me too. 2 more things about that though. Also, you can use the working genius really to figure out how you can connect with those people who are tougher to connect with. That's kind of what I've learned. Like, let's just say, for example, I'm not saying that this happens, but, I get an email from my boss that says, oh, check this out, check out this program, check out this grant. And what she's saying, or if she's saying this, she is, what she's saying is, oh, I just have the time to look at this. I want you to be aware of it. I know you're busy. And what I'm seeing is like, oh, here's some more work for you to do. And so, but now I know that she really just wants to send ideas my way, because she's more of an idea person. And I'm more of the like carry out the programs and organization and stuff like that. And so she loves to be the one to just bring new ideas, and she doesn't expect me to carry out every single thing that comes, from her. But I can appreciate that now, and I understand it. So I can connect with her better than getting frustrated about it. So.
Well, exactly. And the risk there when you're the boss and you do something like that, because my geniuses are invention and wonder. So I'm very much like your boss, Amy, in that that invention genius is always like it's ideas. And so you'll come across something and be like, oh, that's cool. I gotta send that out to my team. I gotta tell my team about this, or I've got this idea, and I throw this idea out to the team and constantly asking the big questions, which has kind of been this whole episode, like, are leaders born? Like asking these big questions. But when the boss walks in and throws ideas out there, the team can take it of like, oh, the boss wants us to do that. So let's
Yeah,
go do
of
that.
course. And probably a
And this
lot
has
more
bit
than
me.
not think that, just so you know.
Yeah. Right. Well, and especially when the team is more wired towards enablement or galvanizing, because like your tendency is going to be like, okay, let's go get this done for the success of the organization. So enablement is I want to help others succeed, and galvanizing is I want to rally others to go get things done. So like, come on team, let's go knock this idea out that she just sent us. Right. And so it's a tool for building language around it. And so now you can just respond to that email like, hey, you're right. This is a really cool idea. Is this something you want me to work on right now?
Mhm.
And, and she might be like, oh, no, I just kind of wanted to get this on your radar and, in case this was something you wanted to pursue or whatever. And it, boom, like problem solved. And I've run into this too many times than I should admit at work. Like I'll come in, I'll throw some idea around, and then all of a sudden my team's working on it. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, well, you told us to do this. And I said, no, it was an idea. Like, maybe it's something we want to think about in the future. Like, well,
Yeah.
I thought
Well,
you
I
told us to
appreciate
do
that
this.
because I don't always have the capacity to start like, oh, what's something new we could do? Let me just sit here and with the extra time in my day and think about new things. And so, some of my newest things have come from, my boss's Amy's ideas, which I appreciate. And so I'm just learning how to, take that in, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And
And I mean, for an organization to be successful, you need the whole spectrum of working genius. You need all six geniuses,
mhm.
to come into play. And so, yeah, you got to have somebody that's this asking the big questions, coming up with the ideas, and then you need somebody that's going to galvanize the team around it, and then help the team succeed around it, and then you're going to need the people that can actually go and see it all the way through and get it done. Yeah. So anyway, that we've beat that dead horse to death again.
Yes.
All right, I want to close on this. I want to close on discipline here. So you credit your workout regimen. So you are dedicated to working out. You credit that to some of your success. My question is, do you think it's the working out? It's actually going to the gym and and lifting the weights, or the actual working out part, or simply the fact that you maintain the discipline to show up every day and do that thing? What I'm wondering about this is, like, could discipline be developed via other activities, that's maybe not hitting the gym and working out? And do you think it would be as effective? What's your thoughts on that?
My short answer is I think it can be effective without it necessarily being the gym or the physical aspect of being disciplined. But for me, I think that this has been the way that I've been able to be disciplined, I guess. And I also do believe that people who are very successful, who don't work out and don't really value fitness and are disciplined in that area, I think it could elevate them even more. So a simple answer is I think that being disciplined in the gym and your fitness and in your health can elevate you no matter where you are. Do I think that it means that you can't be successful unless you have it? No, I don't think that at all. But this is one way that I've learned, it just pours into every part of my life. If I get to the gym, I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I get there at 4:15. I work out till about 6 o'clock. I lift weights. I start with running. I walk on an incline or, like on the Stairmaster at the end. I lift heavy. I can deadlift 285 pounds and, bench press over my body weight. And I actually have muscles. And so I just feel really good. And it's a way to see like tangible results of success. And then I go to work and I'm happy and I have more energy and I'm productive and I feel this sense of confidence that I am enough and I'm as good as the other people in the room when I'm talking to CEOs, business owners, state legislator leaders, even federal leaders from, that we have visited here and stuff like that. And so I think it really helps me with the imposter syndrome. And it also really just trickles into the other parts of my life. I feel like I'm a better partner at home. I feel, sometimes you have to let some things slide a little bit. Like I used to be a huge clean freak, and now my house might be just a little bit messy at times, and that's okay because I work really hard at the gym in the morning, and I work really hard at work, and then I come home, and that's family time, and we're making dinner and we're spending time together, and so I've had to learn to really focus and hone in on a couple of things to keep that discipline and let some things slide where are applicable. So, and that's really attributed to my success, I believe. I have people, this is really bad and shallow in my opinion, but people just respect you by how you look and like if you're strong. Like people will come up to me that don't even know me and they're like, wow, like basically all my respect, like that's amazing, you're incredible. And I'm like, thank you, but at work I feel like I'm more incredible, but thank you. It's
sure, yeah,
you don't even know me.
You don't even know me.
Yeah. So that's just how we are, right? Your body is your advertisement, I guess. Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, most everybody listening has now tuned out after you threw out those stats, because none of us can even compare to those. And so now we all feel bad about ourselves.
Oh no.
If you're listening to this, folks, I agree with you. I feel terrible about myself too. Teli is actually not human. She is actually a machine. And yeah, but no, I think that's fantastic. And you are absolutely right. That there's a lot of something to be said for that confidence that comes from being strong and being healthy. The energy that comes from that, just in so many dynamics. I'm not a gym rat. I've tried to maintain a workout regimen for the last 2 or 3 years. I've done okay in that. Like I generally will get a workout in like once a week, and I'll get a run in once a week. And as far as I'm concerned, being a 44-year-old dad of 2, that's a win. Like if I get, one little lift down in my little home gym in my basement, and then, I've taken to running once a week with the team at work. Right after work, we change clothes real quick and we go run the trails at the park.
And I think that looks different for everybody, right? That's my preference is, different. And my husband is an avid weightlifter and he's very strong. And so we have a competition. It's like, I work out because I have a husband who's strong and works out. And I feel like we get to do that together. So.
Yeah. And so that helps a ton of, so now you got that support system. It's something you can do together. Versus me, like if I'm going to do it, it's something I'm going to, separate myself from the family to go do. Although, my 8-year-old has taken to coming downstairs and pushing some weights with me. He wants to be a soccer star, so he's got to build those abs, he says, but
you better start
regardless
work out.
Yeah. It's just, it's how do you fit it into your life, and that looks different for everybody. And it got me to thinking, like, there's this adage, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I have used that. I've used it at work. In fact, I think, earlier this year was, I used that, and I'm like, we need to, I remember what the context was, but, I use that very thing, like, how we do anything is how we do everything. So if we're not doing this to the full extreme that we could be doing it, then we're forsaking everything else. But I don't know that I believe it. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think I kind of explained it with like, the house, some things have to lack, like how you do anything that's important to you is how you do everything, I think, mostly. But there are some things that you can't do. You're not superhuman, right? We're not these, beings that can do everything. So I don't know. I think that, like, generally speaking, like I do lots of things very similarly with the same kind of approach, I guess you could say. Like I'm very organized, and whether I'm, organizing the house or the closets usually, or if I'm organizing my office is a little bit messy, but organizing a career fair. But I don't know. Sometimes I, slack a little bit at home or in other areas that aren't as important at the time. So you got to prioritize. I don't think you can do everything equally. So I think it's a little outdated is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. I would agree with you. You're right. It's just prioritization. The important things, they need your attention, and how you do those, how you do any one of the important things probably translates to how you do the other important things, but how you do the unimportant things doesn't necessarily to translate how you're going to do the important stuff. And so it's a matter of degree, and it's a matter of priority. I think just taking it at face value, that it doesn't work. I think we should just kill that one. That edit should just go away.
Sounds like a plan.
Let's close this out.
Right.
One last question here. What is one key takeaway that you would recommend to an aspiring or current leader, something that they do to improve how they lead? It could be, something they do. It could be a different way of thinking about something, whatever. What would be your suggestion there?
Ooh, there's so many things, but I really think it's kind of funny because this seems pretty basic and common knowledge and makes sense. Like, oh yeah, duh. But I really just think all leaders, whatever level they're at, should really try to be the leader that they want. And so, they can criticize their current leader, their previous bosses, everything else. But instead of whining and complaining, why don't they start acting like the leader they want to have and set the example for others around them? And along with, professional development and learning and continuous growth, but be the leader that they want to have.
I like that. Yeah. And that kind of jives with, I think, what Brett Hugeveen, when I talked to him, was like, you have to define what is leadership for you, right? Like what does that actually look like? And then you know what to strive towards. So it's perfectly in alignment with that and with some of the biggest thinkers out there. So yes, but be the leader that you would want to see. I like that a bunch. Teli, this has been fun.
Says, be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good play on that. So, Teli, this has been fun. I looking forward to working with you, having you help with this venture that we've got going here with Parks and Restoration.
Yeah, me too.
And following you on all of the work that you do. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you or to learn more about you, where would they go?
They can go to Greater Burlington.com, and it's just T Van Rycke at greaterburlington.com if you want to email me. So, yeah.
Excellent. All right. And, I think you're probably findable on LinkedIn. Listener, thanks for all you do. And I know that, a lot of times your work goes unrecognized, especially this time of year. Man, we parks and conservation people are busy. We are in the thick of it. And, just know that I feel for you out there, and I'm thinking about you, and I do appreciate everything you do. And I encourage you to, as you're driving from one fire to the other, think about what's the leader you want to be. And hopefully we can play a role in helping you become that. Talk to you next time. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
This episode was produced by the great team at Layover Productions. Please subscribe wherever you're tuning in and follow Parks and Restoration on Facebook and Instagram. You can connect with us and other outdoor leaders by joining the Next Level Leadership community at parksandrestoration.com.